Hello, and welcome to another newsletter from Construction Programs and Results. I'm Michael Stone, and I will be sharing our newsletter with you. You may recall that I have cautioned you to be careful whom you listen to in and around our construction world. Well, recently we have had another case of a well-intentioned post by a young business coach stating that the lack of cash flow is the number one cause of a construction company failures. Now, I try hard not to speak ill of others or put them in an embarrassing spot, but there's no nice way to say that the idea that cash flow is the number one cause of construction company failures is simply not true. Cash flow, or lack of it, is the effect of not charging enough for the work that you do, not the cause of contractors going broke and out of this business. Read our book, Markup and Profit Revisited, with any ideas that you might have about cash flow, and in that book you will find the truth of what causes contractors to fail. On another note, schools have started again, the weather is getting cooler, people are thinking about getting work done to their homes and businesses before the holidays. Make sure you tell them your story on your website so they will call you to get the work done. A good fine-tuned website is the best advertising you have. Make good use of it. Now, our newsletter. Design agreement surprises. A friend and a longtime business associate sent a note asking for my thoughts on how to avoid exposing your markup after presenting your contract. He wrote, "We are designing under a design agreement a large sunroom addition with 2 decks, a full masonry chimney with 2 fireplaces, etc. It is quite a project and will end up being the most expensive addition our company has built to date. When we got started on the design, we projected $250,000 or so. Due to a few factors, things just costing more, and the owners adding to the design, our final price ended up being $377,000. The owners certainly had sticker shock, but still really want to build this addition. The whole issue of how to set a budget on a project like this and avoid this sticker shock is certainly an area where I am open to advice. However, my main question has to do with how to avoid giving away your markup amount when the owners start to substitute features. In our follow-up meeting, as I presented options, they were disappointed that they did not say more and began to ask, how much is this? How much is that? And it is hard to answer questions like that without giving away information as to our company's markup. I did some quick math in my head and said around this much, give or take. Our documents, design agreement, and contract say we either charge for itemization or reserve the right to refuse to do it. But nonetheless, those tricky conversations end up coming up." That's the end of his note. That's a tough spot to be in, and most of us have been there. However, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, as Ben Franklin used to say. There are a few things that led to this situation. First, not knowing the budget. It's important to establish a budget for a project at the very beginning. It's one of the 4 basic questions that needs to be asked and answered before a design agreement is even discussed. It appears $377,000 was beyond their budget. If you'd known that before you presented the final price, you'd have been able to present options that brought their project price back down into their budget range. Second, setting the target budget range. The projected cost in a design agreement is also called the target budget range. It's the target for the design based on their budget. It needs to be a range, not a fixed number. For example, $250,000 to $325,000. Your target budget range needs to be within 10% of the final price. So if you aren't confident of the cost, do your homework before writing the agreement. That would have prevented the surprise you both experienced when things cost more than expected. Finally, not communicating price changes. When the design changes, the price changes. When your client starts adding to the design, it's your responsibility to tell them the price just went up. If it went up beyond their budget, everything stops until they understand you won't be able to meet their budget with that design change. If it's impossible to build what they want with their budget, you want to know that before you spend time on the design and estimating. Negotiating is never easy, but most contractors will make it more difficult than it needs to be by doing design work and estimating before they get the customer's budget set. That is the main reason you hear, your price is too high, or we want to think about it, or any one of a dozen or more statements that they can come up with to keep from making a buying decision. Asking and getting answers to the 4 basic questions of a sales call makes it easier to know if your client has the desire and the money to build the job they think they want. This is covered in depth in our book, Profitable Sales: A Contractor's Guide. Once you know the client's budget, you can set up the design agreement and begin designing the project to match their budget. When you deviate from that approach, you leave yourself wide open to all kinds of questions and scenarios that you just don't need. Thanks again for watching, and may the profits be with you.